Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
I planned my wedding to my fiancé for 6 months. I was so sure that I wanted to marry him that there was no room for cold feet for me. He was the one I was choosing to marry, and I didn't care about anything else. I just knew that I loved him and wanted to be with him. We both had our separate bachelor's and bachelorette parties. My party was amazing. I had so much fun with my girls the night before. My best friend is a guy, and I know many people don't approve, but that is who he is to me. We never had any romantic relationship. I see him as my brother, a brother that I didn't have. Just before I reached the church on my wedding day, he called me and told me that there was something he had to tell me. I wondered what it was, so urgent that he couldn't wait until after the wedding, but he insisted that he had to speak to me first. I told him to meet me around a corner just before we got to the church. He showed me the pictures of my boyfriend cheating. Apparently, they went out the night before for his bachelor party, and he was having a lot of fun with a lot of girls. My best friend said that his conscience wouldn't let him be if he didn't let me know what I was getting into. He had heard my fiancé speak about how he didn't believe in monogamy, though he loved me. He was going to have his chicks on the side. My best friend was very apologetic, but he didn't want me to make one of the most critical decisions without having the correct information. This was tough for me because I was on my way to getting married to him. All the guests were there, including my parents, who had come such a long way for the wedding ceremony. Was I going to call off the wedding and disappoint everyone? I wasn't sure what to do, and I had very little time to choose. I asked my best friend what I should do, but he said it was my decision to make, and he couldn't do it for me. He was just there to make sure that I was aware. He assured me that he would support whatever decision I made, but I had to make a choice for myself. I decided to go to the church. The procession began, and when I reached my fiancé, I asked him how his night was and what he had done. He said it was fine and he had a good time. I asked him if he did anything I should know about before we got married, and he said nothing at all, that he was a good boy as always. It was then I realized that I didn't want to marry him. I believe in monogamy and wanted my husband to be the same as myself. I didn't want him to cheat. If we hadn't gotten married yet and he was already cheating and saying that he would continue cheating, there was no hope. My fiancé made the decision himself with the responses he gave me. With tears in my eyes, I told everybody that I was sorry for making them come all the way, but there wouldn't be any wedding. Many people wanted an explanation, so I showed them the evidence my best friend gave me, the pictures of him doing things with other girls. I also told them about not believing in monogamy and how he thought he would still have affairs outside of marriage. I told them that I didn't want that at all, and for me, it was a big deal breaker. I admit that I loved him, but my love wasn't enough to carry us through. I rushed to leave, and people came after me to make sure that I was okay. I wasn't in the mood to speak to anyone, so I hid somewhere until I was sure they wouldn't see me. I desperately wanted time to myself, but my fiancé's boss found me. He was charming and told me that he wouldn't give me up for anything if he was my fiancé. He asked me to get married to him instead. He mentioned that he had always liked me, but stopped sending me signals when he noticed that my relationship with my fiancé was serious. I had noticed when he flirted with me a few times we met. I thought he was attractive, but I didn't let any other thoughts dwell because I was committed to my fiancé. He was attractive and very wealthy. He was everything that you could want in a man. When I followed my fiancé to something his organization had planned, I first noticed him. I know my fiancé is an idiot, so I agreed to marry him, just to spite him. I don't know what I was thinking. Still, doing something like that on impulse gave me a rush, and at that moment, I dragged his boss back to the church with me and announced that I was engaged to his boss. We were going to get married soon. Everybody thought I was crazy. Well, I don't blame them, because I was actually crazy. They tried to make me calm down and think through what I was doing and what I said, but I let them know that I knew exactly what I was doing. Everyone in my family was disappointed in my fiancé. Even his parents were. My fiancé wasn't there when I came back, but my best friend told me that everyone pounced on him, telling him how horrible he was. A lot of them gave him a piece of their mind, and I think that he would have a lot to think about for the rest of his life. He kept calling me, but I didn't want to speak to him. I didn't even want to see him ever for the rest of my life. I had nothing to say to him. He had done his worst. The best part was that I couldn't feel the pain at that time. I had a surge of adrenaline thinking of what I had just done, getting engaged to his boss. I knew that the pain would come, rushing down on me once I calmed down. I was going to marry someone I didn't know so well and had never dated. It's funny that at that time, it felt exciting. His boss kept asking me if I was okay and needed anything because I was with him. I left the church with him. He tried his best to make me feel better and keep my mind off the occurrences from the morning. We had a lovely conversation, and I saw a side of him that I had never seen before. He was a really cool person, and I decided that it wouldn't be a bad idea to actually marry him. Since I said I would, I intended to keep my word if he was okay. We talked until very late, and he dropped me at home. I still live with my parents, so they were still up when I got home. Everybody rushed to me, trying to speak at the same time. I could tell that they were very worried about me. I assured them that I was okay. Plus, I didn't look sad or look like I had been crying. I guess I lied to them because as I got into my room, the tears came rushing down and everything hit me. I was still in my wedding dress and I felt like tearing it to pieces. I was supposed to be going on my honeymoon to move into our new home when we came back. Flashes of the whole day came to me from the beginning, but when I got to that part where I agreed to marry his boss, I couldn't believe that I had done that. I cried as I had never cried before in my entire life. I'm sure my family heard me because they all came by my door to try to console me. It's a good thing it was locked because I didn't want to see anyone. My fiancé and I dated for about 3 years, and he took everything from me. It's been 2 weeks since the incident, and I've kept in touch with my ex's boss. Husband-to-be, you could say. He has been nothing but amazing to me. He didn't bring up any relationship or marriage talk, which was a relief. A few moments ago, my ex called me, and I just wanted to answer for some reason. I had been ignoring his calls since the wedding. He was shocked that I answered. He was expecting it to go to voicemail like the other ones. He apologized, and I told him to save it. I didn't need an apology because he could have just done the right thing. He said that he didn't mean to be rude, but he wanted to ask me for a favor. He said that if I ever had any feelings for him, I should plead with his boss to give him back his job. I didn't know that he was fired, and I had no hand in it. What got to me the most was that he dared to ask me for a favor. I didn't care that he lost his job, and I wished that he never got another job again. Now he lost me, and he lost his job, all for being stupid. Serves him right. Why would I want to help him? Why would I care if he lost his job or if anything happened to him? He just showed me how selfish and self-centered he is. I'm glad that I didn't marry him because I would have been miserable. I thought through some scenarios and I realized that I was blinded by love. He was not the right person for me at all, and there were so many things wrong with our relationship. He tended to cheat, and those red flags were everywhere, but I ignored them because I was in love. I am grateful to my best friend for showing me the pictures and videos because if I hadn't seen them, I would have been married to the worst person for me. I would have been leaving a sad and disappointed married life with somebody I thought I loved. NTA, you seem to have dodged a bullet, so congratulations are in order. Your ex doesn't deserve you. I know that you will find the love of your life, which may just be his boss. NTA, your fiancé betrayed you and still asked for a favor? I thought he would be remorseful and ashamed. Please block him. I think that's what you should do.
Next story.
I, 32, female, and my husband, 34, are child-free. We also work from home on a regular basis, and both our jobs involve doing a lot of meetings and talking. We have a 3-bedroom house where one of the rooms is used as a guest room, while another is made as an office. If we have meetings at the same time, one of us just hops on the laptop and goes to a different room or living room. The bedrooms are located on the top floor, while the kitchen, dining, and living room are on the bottom floor. My sister-in-law had some repairs done to her house, and she arranged to stay with someone else, but it fell through, so she asked if she could come and stay in our house during the day with her kids, a 10-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. I think their school is currently closed due to COVID outbreak, but I'm not sure. Me and my husband explained that both of us work from home most of the time, and we will not be able to take time off to watch her or her kids. She promised they would behave. Yesterday, my husband was asked to come to the office, so I was alone with my sister-in-law and her kids. It was their first day out of 2 weeks of repairs. I was getting ready for my meeting when I heard a screeching sound. I initially thought that the kids were watching TV and might have turned it on too loud, so I asked them to turn it down and started the meeting. The sound didn't stop, and people in the meeting could hear it, and it was making them uncomfortable. I have tried moving to different rooms, but it was still loud, so I had to leave the meeting and come downstairs to see what the sound was. Turns out my sister-in-law, youngest, is throwing a tantrum, and she is just sitting there, not doing anything. I have politely asked her if she can calm down her child, as the noises he makes make me uncomfortable and interfere with my job. She says, okay, and I go back to my home office hoping to rejoin the meeting. However, the sound didn't stop, and in fact, it became worse. The kid has started banging on the floor. I come down again and tell my sister-in-law that she should parent her child and stop this behavior as I'm trying to work, or they have to leave. She was trying to get into an argument, but I said I had enough, and she has to leave now, and is no longer welcome to stay for the 14 days she originally planned. When my husband returned, he agreed with me. However, we have already received calls from his parents calling me an a-hole for kicking them out. AITA? I gave my sister-in-law plenty of time to calm down the kids, and she could take him outside to the garden or the car, but she chose not to. The child is not autistic or has any issues, as my sister-in-law claims. The entire reason for the tantrum was because the child was not allowed to play on our console, as we don't have any games appropriate for his age. He is known to break stuff, and the game he wanted to play is a horror adult game. To clarify the above and reword it, sister-in-law claims the kid is not autistic or has any mental health issues or issues that can cause such behavior. In no way or form I have intended it to sound as if the kid has autism, and I don't believe the sister-in-law has. And also, their house is available to stay at. Only one room is being renovated. Their bedrooms, bathroom, and kitchen are still available to use. She just wanted to stay with someone else during the daytime, as she's not fond of the builders and doesn't like the noise they make, as the builders are there from about 9 to 6. After, she has no issues returning home and staying there. NTA, looks like we now know why the other plans fell through. Your sister-in-law is probably so used to her poorly mannered kid, she doesn't even notice anymore. The fact that she just sat there without addressing the noise is gutsy. NTA, she could have been letting her child work through their tantrum, which isn't bad parenting. But your sister-in-law also needs to understand that if they are guests and someone is working from home, bribing your child to stay quiet becomes the priority.
Next story.
I, 35, female, am a private tutor. My neighbor, S, 42, female, requested that I tutor her 2 children, a 12-year-old girl and a 14-year-old girl, in mathematics and science. Their grades have gone up to straight A's, with the younger even scoring perfect 100%. S requested a huge discount as we were on good terms. I am listed as a girl's guardian, with the agreement that sessions would be thrice a week. My usual rate for 1-to-1 tutoring starts at $40 an hour, and for her girls' levels, their individual rates would have been $50 an hour and $55 an hour, or $75 an hour for both girls together. However, S kept telling me about all her financial burdens, and I lowered the rate to $45 an hour for both girls together, with the agreement of 3 sessions a week. From the beginning, I made it clear to her that weekends are my free time for activities with my dogs, and I only accept urgent requests for tuition, plus weekend rates are higher. They start at $60 an hour. Last week, S told me her elder girl was failing English and requested for a temporary weekend slot, but at their usual rate. I didn't want to be calculative, so I accepted. After the first weekend lesson, she texted me to say that the girls suddenly had after-school activities and would have to drop one of their weekday slots. I agreed because these things do happen sometimes. After the second weekend lesson, S texted me again to tell me that she would only need tutoring on 1 weekday and 1 weekend from now on, since she had signed her girls up for enrichment classes on another weekday when we were supposed to have a tutoring session. She seemed to expect the weekend slot to be a permanent arrangement. I was taken aback because I felt like I had been forced to give up my weekend for a lower rate than normal. I tried to ask her if it would be possible for her to change the enrichment classes to weekend, but she texted me a short no. After consideration, I decided to put my foot down and I texted her this. To be frank, I am not happy with this arrangement. I only agreed to a temporary weekend slot as I was under the impression that your daughter needed urgent help as she is failing English. But now you're reducing the number of sessions to fewer than what we started with, which makes me feel like she didn't really need the extra tuition on weekends. My weekend is for bonding activities with my dogs or urgent assignments only, which are supposed to be temporary arrangements. I hope you can understand my part. She replied with, "Fine, then don't come." 2 days later, she texted me that she no longer wanted me to tutor her girls. She also unfriended me across all her social media. AITA? Was I too rude in my text? Just a few days ago, I was still dropping by with breakfast for their family. And now, the girls dare not even talk to me when I run into them. The younger one told me that S was really pissed off at me, but the elder shushed her. NTA. I'd also be asking to be removed as the girl's guardian. She's clearly taking advantage of you and doesn't like to be stood up to. If her daughter was really failing, she'd be dropping all social activities and after-school activities for that child and focusing on getting them a consistent routine until everything was back on track. You have a right to your weekends, and she doesn't have a right to expect you to drop everything for her and constantly do favors for her. NTA, she was taking advantage. Your text was reasonable given the prior arrangements. Her childish response tells you all you need to know about the quality of this friendship.